Hello YouTube, welcome back to my second tier list video and my second video. Today I chose to do Eeveelutions because they all seem to be popular. They'll be ranked from F to S, although I don't know where E went, but whatever. We skip over E because there's really only one Eeveelution that's that bad that goes into F. But S is not even extremely viable. They'll be pitted up against each other, not necessarily the current Series 10 meta, which is some ridiculous Pokemon. Even the best Eeveelution, the strongest one, is weak to quite a bit of the meta. So I wouldn't recommend putting an Eevee on your team, but if you have to, find it for a specific niche and it could work, go ahead, but I wouldn't put more than one. Just because there are other Pokemon out there that can do much better. Say if you took Flareon, for example, it has a pretty high attack stat, does a lot of damage, has good fire moves, but if you look at him, if I scroll down for a bit, I just do my scroll, doesn't have a lot of coverage moves, like at all. Most of it's either normal or fire, and even then, barely any fire moves. It's got Shadow Ball, if you want to run Special Flareon. It's got Bite, and I believe it has... No, it legit has Bite. Doesn't even have Crunch, does it? I think it used to get Crunch. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, no, it's got a awkward moveset. Most EVs only don't really have good coverage, but there is an Eeveelution that can make up for that just out of sheer damage. Like Sylveon, obviously. Pixelate, Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam. You rarely use Hyper Beam, but yeah. Anyway, we'll start with Vaporeon. So Vaporeon is a bulky water type. Pretty decent overall stats. Good HP stat, good special defense stat. But not a great defense stat. From what I can remember. Like amazing HP stat. Base 130 is huge. Like decent special defense stat. Pretty average. Well, below average defense. Its defense is kind of poor. If I think about it. Special attack is great. But I'd switch these two personally. The great thing is, though, there aren't a lot of physical grass types or electric types in the meta at the moment. Most of them are special. But Regieleki is one of those things. Don't mind the noises in the background. And I'm pretty sure Regieleki almost one-shots this thing no matter what anyway. Unless you Assault Vest it. But you don't want to do that because it's got a lot of good healing moves. And it's got hydration. So you can use Rest in the rain and it will fix it. And you can't use Rest with Assault Vest, obviously. So if I'm pinning Vaporeon against other Eeveelutions, though, I'd say it's better than a lot of these. Like, a lot of them aren't very good. I think it's solid A tier. Like, it doesn't do a lot of damage. It can if you build around it, but it's too slow to make use of that. Like, I guess it's faster than Flareon, but it's slow and doesn't do enough damage. If it did more damage, but was a bit slower, that would be fine, because you could run it in Trick Room, but it's in the awkward spot where it's too fast for Trick Room, and doesn't do enough damage. So, compared to the other Eevees, though, it's definitely A tier. Jolteon, Jolteon goes here. Jolteon's really good. Not in the current meta, but it used to be pretty decent in a non-restricted format, just because a lot of damage, a lot of speed, very fast sweeper, and there was a rather large lack of electric types that were good until Regieleki came out. Regieleki is just better than this in every way. Like, pretty much, it's just better. Which is unfortunate for Jolteon, because while it only had Volt Absorb as its good ability, Quick Feet was meh. While it only had Volt Absorb, it could still do a lot of damage. It had good electric type moves. You didn't really need other moves. Other Pokemon could cover for those ground types that it couldn't. But, yeah. It's very frail, though. Like, pretty good special defense, but low HP in defense. So you're not going to tank much with this Pokemon. But compare it to the other Eevees, and it's by far one of the best. Leafeon. I'm going to put Leafeon... People are going to be shocked. I'm putting Leafeon in A. I once ran Leafeon in a special format of battle. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, basically you pick from a list of Pokemon and players take it in turns, and you basically pick out a team from different tiers. I forgot the name, but I will put it in the comments if I do remember. But yeah, I ran a Sun team. I actually managed to get a good amount of Pokemon for a Sun team. This thing swept. Like, any water Pokemon that I found, this thing absolutely destroyed. Just one-shot them with Solar Blade. And they didn't set up Rain, because most of their water types were G-Maxes. So this thing just one-shot everything, including like a G-Max Blastoise with bulk invested. It was insane. Like, Leafeon's really underrated in my opinion. Take a look at its stats. It doesn't have good coverage again. It's a grass type. It's weak to a lot. But it has a sneaky, surprising amount of bulk. Its defense stat is absolutely massive for no reason whatsoever, which is annoying because that could have been put into attack. And attack could have been put into speed and made an absolute sweeper. But the surprising amount of bulk means priority physical moves when I'm at low health sometimes don't KO. And it clutched me multiple games. And having Chlorophyll made this Pokemon really formidable, and it was a great pick for my team, and I loved it. But it is a grass type, so it is weak to 4 separate types, which is fine. It made a strong grass type for my team, and that's why it's going in A. Not quite S, because, again, you need Sun, you need stuff to work. It's kind of average without Sun. Glaceon's terrible. Glaceon's just slow, in my opinion. The only problem I have with the Glaceon is, yeah, it's slow. It's weird. It doesn't quite fit into Trick Room. It could. Its abilities are garbage. Like, Ice Body and Snowcloak aren't good at all. I mean, you could make bulky Glaceon. It has good special defense and defense, but very average speed. Good special attack, though. Problem is it's an Ice type. So it's weak to 4 things, and it's slow. Yeah, its only problem is it's Ice type. It's one of the hardest Eeveelutions to actually climb ladder with, I think. It can work, but you have to build a team around Glaceon, and that's my only problem. I do like Glaceon, however, it's not very strong. Espeon. Espeon's B tier, in my opinion. It's kind of got reverse stats to Jolteon, except putting it up against the other Eevees, I now realize it's not very good. It's got, again, great special defense, like 95 ain't bad. Good speed, really good special attack, and pretty much trash every other stat, except I don't know why it's got 65 attack and 60 defense. Those could have been switched to make it slightly better. But, yeah, Magic Bounce is an insane ability. This could have been a great support mon, because it's a Psychic type. It gets a bunch of amazing moves, like it gets Trick Room, even though you don't want to run Trick Room with this fast Pokemon. But it gets Power Swap if you ever wanted to do some funny stuff. Light Screen, Reflect. If you wanted a screen setter, this thing could do it, because it was quite fast. It's overall a good Psychic type Pokemon. There again are just Pokemon that do it better. And it's not one of the stronger Eevees, in my opinion. I think a lot of Dark types definitely threaten this thing, because if a Dark type comes out, this thing has nothing to threaten a Dark type. This thing can't do anything against it. It could use Double Kick if you wanted to run a physical move, and yeah, this thing does nothing against Ghost types. Sorry, not Ghost, Dark types. Because they're just immune to Psych, even if you wanted to fire off a resisted move. Like, that's the problem. It gets, doesn't it get Dazzling Gleam? Yeah, it gets Dazzling Gleam, though. Where is it? There it is, Dazzling Gleam. Never mind, it can do stuff against Dark types. That might change a few things. It's actually not too bad. Now that I think about it, this is closer to A tier. I wouldn't put it above Vaporeon, though. Just, again, it's not bulky enough to quite do its own thing. It pretty much dies first turn, if you're not careful. Umbreon. I've seen Umbreon being used a lot lately. And I have a specific opinion on Umbreon. I think it's overrated. But I still think it's a good design. I love Umbreon, but everyone loves Umbreon. Again, there is an Eevee that's loved more than that, but I also like that one anyway, so it's fine. The reason I think it's overrated, this thing does absolutely no damage. 65, 60, 65. Weird speed, again. terrible special attack, terrible physical attack. Again, you run foul play on this, but a special attacker will just eventually whittle this thing down because of how bulky it is. But in doubles, this thing does absolutely nothing. Like, what are you going to do? Toxic something? You'd rather burn something. Like, this thing... Does it even get toxic anymore? It's a good support mon. Like, it sticks around for a while, but I don't think it gets toxic anymore. Yeah, they've severely nerfed it. It used to be pretty good in singles, though. Like, Snarl support is decent now. I know it gets Helping Hand. Yeah, Helping Hand. A Yawn. Like, this thing's a decent support mon. But otherwise, it just sits around and does literally nothing. Like, I think it's gonna have to go on B tier. Like, it's not great. Flareon. Flareon C tier, I'm gonna say it now. Absolutely insane damage. Like, Flare Blitz Flareon with Guts Boost absolutely one-shots almost everything. But the problem is, you're never going to be able to get it off, because Flareon is not very bulky at all. Like, absolutely disgusting defense stat. Like, lowest stat in defense. Great special defense, though. Huh, I thought Flareon had 110 special attack. That's my bad. This is actually a decent stat spread. I wouldn't complain about this, to be honest. Like, 130 attack. He's got a decent stat spread with Guts. He's even better. You can't burn him, though, so you have to poison him. So it takes a bit more damage, which is fine. But, yeah. Oh, pretty garbage speed. You could run it in Trick Room. It wouldn't be perfect, though. Yeah, it's okay. Again, it's worse than Umbreon because it doesn't really have its own niche. It just nukes things. Yeah, it's alright. Sylveon. Now, this is my favorite Pokemon of all time, and I've got a bias towards this. But this thing has been meta for so many years. Like, even when XY came out, this thing was meta until the restricted formats. Sword Shield, it had a spot in the meta till more Pokemon got released and restricted formats. But it is overall one of the best fairy type, non-legendary fairy types that have ever been created because of its ability to pixelate. The only other one that would stand up to it would be Mega Altaria, and that took up a Mega slot, and you didn't want to be able to have to use that. So I think Sylveon is by far the strongest evolution, and whether it's your favorite or not, it's okay. I personally don't like Jolteon that much, compared to Leafeon or Vaporeon or Flareon even, but I still think Jolteon's really strong. Again, I'm ranking this fairly from my experience. I think Sylveon's really strong. Pixelate's really good. You can run Cute Charm if you have to, and it can still be good. Like, Sylveon has some bulk, obviously not defensively, but Sylveon's also got a really low speed. I think it's the slowest Eevee, meaning you could potentially run it in Trick Room. It is a possible Trick Room mod. It is the best Trick Room mod. Don't mind the weird ads that keep popping up. I don't understand what these are. But decent HP, great special defense. Like, it's good natural bulk, good special attack. I wouldn't mind these two being switched, but still good. They had to balance Sylveon somehow, because this Pokemon came out swinging. Like, Dragon types are not safe around this Pokemon. A lot of Dragon types just drop in one hit, and that's what's so great. Hyper Voice, you just put Choice Specs, or even Choice Scarf if you want to run fast Sylveon, and you just spam Hyper Voice, and it's guaranteed damage. You might get one shot, but if your Sylveon gets one shot, you should not have picked Sylveon for that fight. Because there are a few Pokemon in the meta that currently threaten it out, like Zacian. But again, with Fake Out pressure, you can kind of ignore that. For a turn at least. But Sylveon does no damage to Zacian. Like, even Mystical Fire barely scratches it. And it's quite obvious Eevee's F tier. I might have put Eevee in D tier if Dynamax still existed, because Gmax Cuddle actually could have been somewhat decent. I would have put it in E tier probably then. But Eevee's middling stats, and even with Eeveelution, it's still not great. Like, you're just better off evolving Eevee into something like a Sylveon or a Jolteon. But yeah, that's my tier list. I think it's fair. There weren't enough Eeveelutions to really make it big enough, but it's pretty good. Would I move anything? I'd potentially move Umbreon here and Espeon there, but I think I'm content with this tier list for now. Tell me in the comments below. Again, I disabled the comments on the other video for some unknown reason. Yeah. Tell me in the comments below what you would have switched around.